Once upon a time, in a land where winters were as chilly as grandmother's scoldings, there was a little boy named Ioseb, who later became known as Joseph Stalin. Little Ioseb was born in a tiny cottage in Gori, a small town in the Georgian hills, surrounded by rolling green countryside and regal mountains. Life was tough for Ioseb. His family, poorer than a sparrow without seeds, had him help around the house to make ends meet. But Ioseb was hungry for more than just mama's humble barley porridge. He had a thirst for knowledge. However, the path of learning wasn't smooth for young Ioseb. His father wasn't the teddy bear kind of father. In fact, he was the kind whose anger was like fiery dragons. Despite hardships, Ioseb managed to go to school at a Georgian Orthodox seminary, where lots of serious, grown-up teachers taught about the world. Ioseb's curious mind quickly lit up like a candle in the dark. But excitement often leads to trouble, doesn't it? One day, he started whispering about changes and new ideas he read in secret books. His teachers, who didn't like such talk, sent him home on a one-way ticket. Out in the big world, Ioseb found his fellow adventurers, people who also wanted change. They talked about lofty ideas, like fairness and a world without mean dragons. As the years rolled by, and like a climber reaching the top of a tall tree, he joined the Bolsheviks, under the infamous bearded captain, Vladimir Lenin. Together, they wanted to flip the kingdom upside down. Then, one day in 1917, a great shout went out in the land. Ioseb and his comrades had succeeded in making the world spin differently, and they didn't even need magic potions. The Russian Empire was no more. With his eyes on the stars and feet in the mud, Ioseb took on important roles to help run this new country. As farmers tilled the soil and workers spun mighty machines, Ioseb's plans began to grow like wildflowers. And then came his biggest stage trick, being made the General Secretary of the Communist Party in 1922. Ioseb, like a master puppeteer, carefully placed his friends in important places. Soon, those who disagreed with him disappeared as quickly as soap bubbles on a hot day. With the departure of old Captain Lenin, Ioseb was left alone in the wheelhouse. No longer was he young Ioseb, but Joseph Stalin, a titan amongst the leaders of this vast expanse. Now, with iron will and steely gaze, Stalin crafted plans, as colossal as an elephant but sometimes as terrifying as a storm cloud. He wanted to make his lands as dazzling as a dragon's treasure hoard. He spun tales of prosperity through 5-year plans, which sounded grand as fairy tales. Workers built factories and farmers worked in fields, hoping for prosperity like a garden blooming after winter. But sometimes, the crops of these plans turned barren, causing hardship and hunger, especially in lands like Ukraine. Then came the year when clouds seemed darkest. The Great Purge unfolded. Stalin saw ghosts in shadow, hearing whispers even when the wind was still. Many were sent away, leaving only silence behind them. But through it all, Stalin stood firm, directing the great Red River of the Soviet Union. Around this time, a darker tale began to unfold in the world. A great war loomed, bigger and thunderous than any war story told to young boys over campfires. Initially, Stalin pondered peace notes with another kingdom wearing iron and fire. However, when their drums marched over the land, he swapped whispers of peace for horns of war.